U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials are looking into reports of alleged forced marriages between much older men and young girls whose families were desperate to have them escape the Taliban, according to a new report revealed Thursday. Those young girls told officials at a transit site in Abu Dhabi that they have been raped by older men they were forced to marry in order to escape Afghanistan, the damning report obtained by Yahoo News and dated September 5 states. U.S. officials are looking into reports that in the frantic evacuation of desperate Afghans from Kabul, older men were admitted together with young girls they claimed as brides or otherwise sexually abused, the leaked paper states. It also notes reports of purported child brides being brought to Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, where Afghan refugees are meant to end up after a thorough vetting process overseas. The reality is, overseas the vetting process sucks, an official familiar with the troubling reports told Yahoo News. There's minimal vetting. So now we have a 60-year-old guy with a 12-year-old girl saying, "That's my wife." The U.S. military wrapped its withdrawal from Afghanistan by President Biden's deadline with 124,000 rescued, mostly vulnerable Afghans. But the government is on to the next challenge of processing and vetting those people for entry into the U.S. Reports of inhumane condition and overcrowding surfaced in some areas. Federal officials blamed those on bottlenecks, partially because of delays in making sure everybody was thoroughly checked. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said at her daily White House briefing on September 1, "I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process." But the scathing report surfaced today casts doubt on the process. The official familiar with the report admitted it was not a small number nor are they regarded as legitimate marriages in the eyes of the United States. Is there nefarious intent? Are these girls being rescued, or are they brought here for more nefarious purposes? We are just not sure, the official said. The legal age to marry was 16 under Afghanistan's previous government, but as the report notes, child marriage is not uncommon in the country. These marriages are indicative of the sheer level of desperation these families are willing to consider helping loved ones escape the Taliban, the report states. CBP looking into reports of child brides in Abu Dhabi and Wisconsin is just the latest blow to Biden's handling of the crisis. It was revealed Wednesday that the administration is allowing Afghan children to stay with the adult they arrived with in the United States, to avoid unaccompanied minors going into custody. CNN reported Wednesday that the Department of Health and Human Services put out guidance over the weekend that laid out ways to avoid Afghan children being separated from caregivers. The report comes after the Associated Press reported last week that a number of Afghan men entered the U.S. with child brides, with officials seeking guidance on how to handle this dynamic. Intake staff at Fort McCoy reported multiple cases of minor females who presented as married to adult Afghan men, as well as polygamous families, a document obtained by the app warned. Department of State has requested urgent guidance. The app reported that there was no immediate indication from the military, the Department of Homeland Security or HHS that such guidance was received. Typically, minors who don't arrive with their parents, even if they come to the U.S. with an aunt, uncle or sibling, are put into HHS custody until a sponsor is deemed worthy. In the case of Afghan refugees, the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is part of HHS, is allowing the children to stay with the adults they arrived with, even if they're not the kids' parents, CNN said. HHS did not immediately respond to Daily Mail.com's inquiry on how they're handling the issue of the child brides. Last week, State Department spokesperson Ned Price said very few Afghan children are arriving with adults who they don't know. More than 100 have arrived in the U.S. unaccompanied, an administration official told CNN, though a majority have been quickly reunited with family members. Unaccompanied minors represent only 0.25% of the share of Afghan arrivals, an HHS spokesperson told CNN. We will continue to work with our government partners to provide care for all the children referred to us. Antony Blinken met with Afghan refugees at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany on Wednesday as the administration continues to deal with the bungled troop withdrawal that is now leading to the displacement of thousands of Afghans. The Secretary of State showed a picture of his children to a young Afghan refugee outside Hangar 5 for evacuation operations at Ramstein Air Base. The State Department is facing criticism after it was revealed in an email link that the agency prevented several private flights from leaving Afghanistan with U.S. citizens and Afghan allies on board. The trip to Germany came after Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with leaders in Doha, Qatar, which is acting as another third-party country for Afghan refugee processing before they are resettled in the U.S. Blinken was also pictured there touring a base in Doha being used as a processing center with hundreds of cots lining the floor of a building. Also on Wednesday, Blinken met with German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas as the two counterparts discussed cooperation in efforts to process and resettle Afghan refugees. The two will hold a virtual 20-nation meeting on the crisis from the southwestern German U.S. Air Base. The images out of Ramstein on Wednesday show a number of refugees sitting on the floor as they wait to be processed. Many are unaware of their final resettlement destinations, but are expected to come through the Philadelphia and Washington Dulles airports. Blinken said on Tuesday that Afghan refugees will be vetted on the back end, as he claims the withdrawal was too swift and chaotic to vet all Afghan refugees before they were airlifted out. The administration still insists there are around 100 Americans left to be evacuated, while volunteer groups leading private evacuation efforts and Republicans claim there are more like 500 U.S. citizens still trying to get out. 6 planes chartered to evacuate Americans and allies from Afghanistan were blocked from leaving by the Taliban, it emerged over the weekend. The State Department also refused to green-light privately chartered flights out of Afghanistan that could have evacuated U.S. citizens and Afghan special immigrant visa applicants, leaked emails reportedly show. Military lawyer and retired Marine Eric Montalvo shared the communications with Fox after he organized some of the flights and now claims the federal government thwarted his rescue effort. The leaked emails show state officials refusing to allow Montalvo's privately paid for flights to use U.S. property either inside the country or at one of its many overseas bases, after the Biden administration pledged to do whatever it can to rescue all Americans and as many Afghan allies as possible. No independent charters are allowed at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, an email from September 1 says. In fact, no charters are allowed to land at an SIC base and most if not all countries in the Middle Eastern region, with the exception of perhaps Saudi Arabia, will allow charters to land.